Hi, everyone. We're starting the admission of the attendees and also live broadcasting to Zoom. So good luck, everyone, and enjoy the session. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and welcome to this capacity building information sharing session on building future-ready talent, sustainability, and practice beyond the headlines, which is co-hosted by Hong Kong Green Finance Association, Capacity Building Alliance for Sustainable Investment, and the Hong Kong Association of Banks. Today's session follows up on last year's webinar on enhancing talent capacity, and we'll be exploring how, despite the geopolitical headwinds and challenges, sustainability continues to redefine professional roles and hiring priorities, and how it's becoming fully embodied in strategy, risk management, and capital allocation. My name is Chun Chen, and I'll be guiding you through today's webinar. First, some housekeeping. If you want to claim CPT points, please remember to complete the survey at the end, and if you have any questions at any stage, you can share them with us in the Q&A box, and we'll do our very best to ensure that the speakers address them at the end of their segment. Throughout the session, useful resources will also be linked in the chat for your reference, so please keep an eye out for that. We have a very full agenda today, so let's kick off with some welcoming remarks, the first of which is a recorded message from HKGFA Chairman and President and CASI Chairman, Dr. Ma Jun. Technical issues, if you can just bear with us for a few moments, just figuring those out. No matter how many times we practice this, there always seems to be a few technical errors, so please bear with us. Apologies.
Winnie, Timothy, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, good afternoon. On behalf of Hong Kong Green Finance Association, I would like to extend my warmest welcome to all of you for attending this seminar on Building Future-Ready Talent, Sustainability in Practice, which is co-hosted by Hong Kong GFA with the Hong Kong Association of Banks and the Capacity Building Alliance of Sustainable Investment. In this seminar, we will explore the growing demand for embedding sustainability into corporate strategy, risk management, and capital allocation, as well as the role of capacity building in equipping practitioners with skills. In particular, my colleagues from Hong Kong GFA and CASI will introduce the GFA-CASI Sustainable Finance Certificate, which will be delivered as an online training program. Let me begin by saying a few words on the rapid growing demand for sustainable finance and ESG knowledge, using China Industrial Bank as an example. 10 years ago, when I asked the head of Green Finance in Industrial Bank, the team told me that 200 people were trained. And recently I asked the same question to them, and she told me that they have trained 10,000 people to become green finance experts within the bank. And this includes the bank's entire relationship management teams, product experts, traders, investment bankers, risk management professionals, and of course, strategy and research guys. This shows just how much capacity building is needed to keep pace of the rapid growth of the green finance market. The broader context is that China's green finance market has expanded by annual average of 20% over the last 10 years, and now has an outstanding amount of green loans at 45 trillion RMB, equivalent to about $7 trillion US. Hong Kong, as the largest green finance market in Asia, of course excluding mainland China, is experiencing similar rapid growth. Hong Kong will serve not only the local needs, but also those from mainland China, ASEAN, and other emerging markets. Given the massive energy transition demand from emerging markets, China's outbound green investment is expected to grow about 20% every year for the many years to come. For example, Pakistan just issued a green bond in China's panda bond market a few days ago, and many other countries are looking to tap into this panda bond market and also dim sum bond market for sustainable finance. Hong Kong as a superconnector stands to benefit greatly from this massive trend of China green investment going abroad. However, in Hong Kong, the green finance talent development remains quite uneven across the financial sector. A few major banks in Hong Kong are doing very well in large-scale transactions, but many smaller financial institutions are not ready, and the many SMEs are even absent from the green finance market due largely to capacity gaps. Another major driver of sustainability is disclosure requirements. Hong Kong is one of the few jurisdictions that has fully adopted ISSB, and China is rolling out its own ISSB version. This means that all listed companies will need to report carbon information and net zero transition plans. In turn, this will require all suppliers, including SMEs, to do the same, because greening the supply chain is part of the large companies' transition plans. Consequently, a huge number of people will need to work on sustainability reporting, transition planning, transition finance, and it's going to be for major companies and the suppliers. The necessary skills such as carbon accounting, climate risk analysis, transition planning, and transition finance products are not yet available in most banks and companies, especially in the smaller ones. I see this as a critical bottleneck for the effective adoption of ISSB and transition finance in Hong Kong and the region. Given the huge demand for these skills and the current lack of supply, the Hong Kong government has encouraged various training providers to provide programs and has provided subsidies in recent years. Hong Kong GFA has been a pioneer in this space, offering in-person training through joint programs with Hong Kong UST and Hong Kong SFI. Several hundred people have received our certificates in the past few years. However, offline training has its own drawbacks. It is costly and inflexible in terms of timing, as most students are very busy and they are finding it's very hard to commit to fixed class schedules. This is why Hong Kong GFA has now developed this unique online program with CASI, leveraging CASI's existing platform, which offers more than 50 online modules already, covering all subjects of green and sustainable finance. This GFA and CASI online program is also government subsidized. Most students can get 80% of their feedback if they pass the exam, and actually for students in schools, they can get 100% of their money back. Learners can flexibly schedule their studies on weekends, in the evenings, or even during lunch breaks. In addition, Hong Kong GFA will offer networking opportunities for students who are looking to find new and better paying jobs in the sustainable finance market. With that, let me thank you once again for attending this seminar, and a big thank to our collaborators, including Hong Kong AB and CASI. I wish this event a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ma. Also providing welcoming remarks today is Ms. Winnie Fan, Managing Director of Sustainable Finance, Corporate Banking, Deputy General Manager, Global Corporate Banking Department of Bank of China, Hong Kong Limited, and Chairperson, the Green Commercial Banking Committee for the Hong Kong Association of Banks. Like Dr. Ma, Winnie was unfortunately unable to join us in person, so she's recorded the following message for us.
Thank you, Dr. Ma. Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to all participants today. On behalf of the Green Commercial Banking Committee of the Hong Kong Association of Banks, we are delighted to co-host this webinar together with CASI and HKGFA to discuss on capacity building of sustainable finance. We often talk about sustainable finance in terms of capital flow, green taxonomies, and regulatory requirements. But the engine that drives every single one of these components isn't just data or policy, it is people. Hong Kong is uniquely positioned to be the green finance hub bridging mainland China and the global markets. we play a crucial role to help to transit towards a low carbon economy, both within the local and across other regions. However, the demand for high-level sustainable finance expertise always outstrips the supply of talent. A recent survey indicated that a lack of talents and lack of experience are the key obstacles to the advancement of green and sustainable business practice. So we have the capital and we have the ambition, but we need talents to drive it. Capacity building is critical in every sector. All decision makers should be well equipped with the knowledge in greening the economy in order to achieve a timely and smooth transition. So business as usual training may be insufficient. The capacity needs to go beyond the fundamental concepts and upgraded and penetrated to different streams of expertise from time to time. We need professionals who can navigate in different aspects. For example, for climate risk assessment and management, we need to understand how physical and transition risks impact portfolio resilience and the way to mitigate the risk. And for transition finance, we need deep sector expertise to help brown industries transit to green. For product innovation, we need to know how to design sophisticated financial instruments related to transition loan and carbon credits as well. It is all about upskilling the entire ecosystem. So we suggest for institutions, we need to invest in our people today. Our sustainability strategy can be implemented tomorrow. And for individuals, we can foresee that there is a green premium in every career. In particular for financial practitioner, knowledge in sustainable finance is becoming more and more fundamental. We are glad to have CASI to provide the certificate in Sustainable Finance Program. And this program is one of the eligible programs under the pilot Green and Sustainable Finance Capacity Building Support Scheme, which is entitled to the subsidy as well. To conclude, we look forward to seeing more talent driving together for Hong Kong to be the best global sustainable financial hub. Thank you.
Thank you, Winnie. So building on those welcome remarks, now for the opening remarks on sustainability skills and strategy and building climate resilient businesses and careers, I'm delighted to introduce an expert in talent strategy, acquisition and executive leadership. From the global organizational consulting firm Korn Ferry, please welcome Mr. Timothy Smith, Principal, Global Industrial Markets and Regional Sustainability Lead. Tim, over to you.
Thanks, Trin. Yes, I'm Timothy Smith, Principal in Global Industrial Markets and Regional Sustainability Lead at Korn Ferry. I've been recruiting executives across Asia Pacific now for about 18 years, 12 years of that being based in Hong Kong. So thank you for everyone for having me. Over the past 12 to 24 months, green skills have definitely moved very quickly. From what was once a niche capability with specific dedicated business streams, it's now mainstream across the entire workforce. When we talk about green skills, we're referring to capabilities that help to mitigate climate change, support climate adaptation, and enable circular economy outcomes. And the most important shift is this. Green skills are no longer confined to a sustainability or ESG team. They're becoming a baseline expectation across almost every role, be it HR, accounting and finance, marketing, operations, and so on. At the same time, as we all know, the pace of change is being accelerated by technology. AI is racing alongside science to drive decarbonisation. So it's a very interesting time. And also interesting, looking at some statistics, 53% of green hires now are coming from non-green job titles. So this is telling us something very simple, that every job is becoming sustainability related. So the question is, where should this role sit? That argument was happening for a long time. It's now settling. The trend is roles are becoming functional. Sustainability practices as a business function are moving away. So analytics, finance, marketing are now sitting within their own functions with that sustainability skill set. If we take a step back, we're at a real inflection point. AI is already reshaping the workforce. We all know that. And yes, unfortunately, it will replace some roles, but more importantly, it's going to redefine almost every job. So the real challenge here is not job loss, but more about readiness. This is not a sustainability shift. This is not a technology shift. AI itself has created a once-in-a-generation workforce transformation. So very interesting time for us. There's a lot more to it. If you look at the data further, green skills development has grown from about 15% to just under 18%. But this is starting to slow down. So that brings up, upskilling, investment in training, development, and so on. At the same time, the demand is still there. So that trend from a few years ago is still there. The gap is closing a little bit, but demand is growing by about 7.7%, but the supply is at about 4.3% in growth. So, the demand is still growing almost as fast as supply. The gap is closing, but it's still consistent to what we've seen in previous years. So, it tells us something quite simple. The intention is not the issue. It's more about the execution and the capability. Organisations that we work with, they know what they want to achieve, but in some cases they just don't have the correct strategy or the talent to deliver on it. And that applies to both AI and sustainability. If we bring this to more of a Hong Kong theme, it becomes a little bit more relevant. We know in Hong Kong, buildings drive a large proportion of electrical demand. Electricity generation drives a significant share of the emissions. So decarbonisation here is fundamentally tied to the way that we operate the built environment. We are seeing some progress from a talent perspective, but at the same time, there is still a clear shortage of certain skill sets. So once again, there's a bottleneck. It's not so much the ambition, it's more around the capability or the capacity. This is where financial services becomes quite critical. At its core, the energy transition has been mentioned earlier. It's enabled by capital. So, renewable energy and grid upgrades and, real estate transformation, that all depends on investment and financing. So financial institutions are really embedded in this. The funding, the risk, the influencing of capital allocation, that's all finance. So the key point here is capital alone does not deliver the transition. You need capability across the entire ecosystem. So that includes engineers, the operators to run the assets, and of course the finance professionals to translate that into some kind of value. Right now, that capability is not keeping up with the pace of demand, but as I said, that gap is starting to close. So, as I said, we're not seeing a single gap. It's been connected across the entire ecosystem, particularly technology and engineering, but also including finance and operations. They're all evolving, but unfortunately, there is misalignment. Some are evolving faster than others, which unfortunately slows down the execution. If we take a step back, green skills started as a niche, they're now mainstream and now fully embedded into every role alongside AI, of course. So where are the opportunities? At the intersection of sustainability, AI, data and business, that's the first one. In finance, ESG investment and capital, data and AI is clearly going to be the king of opportunity in the future. But going down the avenue, which has been mentioned earlier, risk, governance, regulatory functions, they're all relevant. And of course, transformation and strategy and leadership. And again, importantly, sustainability is evolving from a standalone function. It's embedded across the entire business. So we're seeing a simple shift. It's going away from strictly reporting and compliance. There's a need for execution and value creation. So what does this mean for the next generation of talent? You don't necessarily need to be aiming for a sustainability titled job. Aim to diversify yourself and embed sustainability into a specialization. For example, finance and sustainability, or data AI and sustainability, operations and sustainability. But from a skill set perspective, the must-haves, digital fluency is key, critical thinking, adaptability, stakeholder management, and of course, leadership is going to be absolutely critical. So if I was going to leave you with a few thoughts, this is not just a sustainability shift. It's not just an AI shift. It is a fundamental restructuring of work itself. So ultimately, it is capability you need to build. It's not anything else. It's all about capability. So the question for us, which I'll leave with everyone, is how do we ensure our workforce is not just reacting to change, but leading it? With that, I'll pass it over to the next guest, and thank you again.
Thanks, Tim. That was fantastic. And in spite of how AI is going to, lead some of those shifts and redefine the future of work, your observations are actually very encouraging on many levels. I think one of the key takeaways for me is how green skills have moved from niche to becoming a core baseline expectation. So if you are in the financial services industry, regardless of whether you're sitting in the front, middle, or back office, this is a skill that you will need to be developing. And then ultimately, if we are to succeed in ensuring that we can bridge the financing gaps and deploy the capital needed to support the transition, it's absolutely essential that we have the talent in place to steer that investment into the right opportunities. Now, to further explore how practitioners can develop those very skills which Tim mentioned are needed, I'd like to welcome my colleague, Ms. Jenny Lee, Deputy Secretary General of HKGFA, and Mr. Cheng Lin, Head of Secretariat for CASI, for their sharing on the new HKGFA-CASI Online Certificate in Sustainable Finance program. Remember, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the Q&A box, and Jenny and Cheng Lin will be more than happy to address them at the end. Now, over to you, Jenny.
Thank you so much, Chin, and also Timothy, for those insights. I'm sure everybody on the call are kind of looking for answers, I guess, in terms of what to do next. Over the next 15 minutes, I'll give a quick overview of who we are, what we do, and the collaboration with CASI and the online program and how it can support your learning journey. And obviously, as Chin mentioned, opening up the floor for questions. So if we go to the next slide, we'll see that HKGFA just quickly was established in 2018 by Dr. Marjan, and it is a not-for-profit. It's industry-led, it's private sector platform with over 150 institutional members, which is very much representative of the Hong Kong ecosystem. We have over 50% that are financial institutions, asset managers, insurers, 30% market service providers, and the remaining are academia and other NGOs. And our mission is really to advance Hong Kong's sustainable finance ecosystem through our 5 working groups, which are organized across key thematics that have been identified by our members on the most pressing to unlock the flow of capital, which is absolutely necessary for the transition and the real economy decarbonization. And these thematics include transition, climate adaptation, finance, sustainability disclosures, real estate decarbonization and retrofitting, the Northern Metropolis, going global, and integrating nature and biodiversity into business strategy. So a core pillar of our work is really capacity building. As Dr. Marjan has mentioned in his opening remarks, we've trained and certified over 350 professionals with our existing 2 in-person certificates in sustainable finance. And these are in collaboration with our other partners, HKUST and HKFSI in English and Mandarin. We've also organized and hosted over 700 plus industry events in sustainable finance. We've published thought leadership papers on transition finance, green technology, nature biodiversity, taxonomies, and so on, to basically help build the market developments and guardrails that are needed to really support capacity building. And we've engaged with over 20,000 industry stakeholders over the past 8 to 9 years, spanning over 20 countries. So when we look at the collaboration and why are we collaborating with HKGFA, CASI is because HKGFA works very closely with the government and regulators really to provide this private sector input on policy development. We're also a member of the cross-agency steering group Green and Sustainable Finance Centre of Data and Capacity Building Workstream. So this collaboration with CASI really continues our ongoing support for the industry, for the ecosystem to really develop those skills that are absolutely necessary today. As Tim mentioned, these are kind of like business as usual embedded skills in your daily activities. And they're also aligned to the cross-agency steering group sustainable finance priorities, which is really to cover this whole ecosystem-wide building of talent. So by bringing these two platforms together under the leadership of Dr. Margin and aggregating these global, regional, and local sustainable finance content with industry experts, we're able to accelerate and amplify and scale up the delivery of core sustainable finance skills that is really needed now to unlock capital into these green investments and to achieve our climate targets and goals. And so with that, I'll pass the floor to Cheng-Ling, who will give you more color and overview in terms of CASI and what they do and how they support the market. Over to you,
Great.
Cheng-Ling. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Jenny. I'm Cheng-Ling from the CASI Secretariat. So let me just maybe spend the next few minutes to explain what CASI is, what we have offered on the platform in terms of contents, and also what technical features we have for the CASI Academy. So CASI was founded in 2023, actually during the COP28, as a direct response to the G20 call for more capacity building. And in the same year, there was an action plan called the G20 Technical Assistance Action Plan, which is calling for more capacity building and also more coordination among these providers of these capacity building services. So we are an alliance. So that means we have members. And in the slightly more than 2.5 years in the past, we have actually done quite a lot already and generated quite heavy actually global impacts. In the 2.5 years, we have reached already more than 100 jurisdictions around the world, and most of them are coming from emerging markets and also developing economies. Because our goal for creating the CASI Academy and also whole CASI is to build capacity for the EMDEs, and with the aim to train more than 100,000 people by 2030. So that's quite a lot of goal. And our current goal actually is already close to 10,000. It's about through 4 types of projects, including our CASI Sustainability Forums. We did this one last year in Hong Kong during the Green Week. And our next event will be happening next month in North Africa, in Casablanca, Morocco. And then we'll come back to Hong Kong again during the 3rd Green Week. And we have also an online learning platform called CASI Academy. And on the Academy, we generated online learning videos. And the videos are using AI-based technologies. They're very much actually in response to Timothy's point. The AI is so much. AI literacy is very important. So we are also using AI technology to generate the contents we have already generated and turn them into video and use the avatar to speak and also to convert the information to videos. And now we have already received more than 2,000 registrants and candidates who are learning very actively on our platform on CASI Academy. And most of them are coming now from the financial sector, although we do believe the whole ecosystem will be very important for green investments, green finance, including policymakers, regulators, financial institutions, investors, and also the green project owners. In the meantime, I also think Timothy's point made a very clear signal that actually now many of the new job openings actually are opened for, especially in the green sector, actually are not necessarily with a green in the title. So that's very important. That means green finance or green investment is now something like a fundamental or more basic information that need to have. And we're also organizing other events, especially through the CASI seminars and also technical assistance events. And in the last 2.5 years, we have organized or supported in total of 27 events. And by end of this year, it's going to be much more than that. On next page, you will see actually, as we are alliance, we have already got quite a lot of members. By end of May, actually today is May the 27th. We already got 73 members from around the world, and 2 years ago it was like less than 50. And among the members, we have founding members and also knowledge partners and distributors. And many of the participants to our event today might also be coming from members, institutions. So among these, I think we also have a very, I think, strategic partners, including, for example, the Hong Kong Infrastructure Financing Facilitation Office, the AIIB, the CF Institute, let alone the Silk Road Fund, the HSBC, and also the Standard Chartered Bank. Well, there are so many other members. I do not have to read all of them, but I think it's so important that we keep engagement with all of you under the CASI, including by providing the knowledge we have and also benefiting from the experience and case studies you have, so that the knowledge and contents we generate actually are live and also living platform. So in addition to the next slide, you will see, in addition to the professionals and practitioners in the financial sector, there are so many momentum already actually in the world, especially from education to career. There are so much things happening in the universities. For example, here we have seen quite a few, including, for example, the University of Oxford, Columbia University, National University of Singapore, and many others. Today, I'm at an event organized by the Central Bank of Papua New Guinea. And there is a national university, and they are also very keen to know what we can do together by providing the contents we generated to their college students, and also through the network and also the executive training programs they have for the whole Pacific Island countries. They also want to promote the sustainability concepts where the regulation is also putting in place quite a lot of opportunities there. And the last slide I will have actually is going to be focusing on the user experience. So if you log into our platform, you will see actually what our user platform or the CASI Academy looks like. So firstly, our platform is offering multilingual services. So that means we are going to roll out more languages than English or Mandarin or many others. At least we'll start with the 6 official UN languages, including English, Mandarin, Chinese, Arabic, French, Russian, and Spanish. So by far, we have already got 3. English, Mandarin, Chinese, and Russian out by end of April. And next month, we're going to roll out the next version, French, for the French-speaking in Africa and countries and candidates. And the second feature is about the evolving AI assistance or facilitation. So it's AI facilitated learning. That means you're not alone. Actually, the AI avatars would be the companion when you're doing your studies. And as Dr. Ma mentioned in the very beginning, as a keynote speech, actually, this would be your self-paced. And also, you do not have to spend quite a lot of time and also follow a very strict schedule for classrooms. You just use this and also tailor to your own devices. And later this year, we are going to very quickly adapt to more devices so that you can even learn while you're commuting. And the third thing is about the quiz. We all know to learn is important. Actually, to assess is equally important. That's why actually in college students, you see they are doing quite a lot of exams. But we do not have to do this on everything on exam-based. We have small quizzes. For learning videos, it might be sometimes actually a little tedious if you're doing, let's say, a very long time for an hour or even 2 hours. So to avoid such a feeling and also to make sure you obtain the information correctly and also most importantly, relevant, every section is about 10 minutes. There will be a pause and come up with a few quizzes. Normally it's 2 or 3 questions and very much relevant to what has been just taught about in the past 10 minutes or so as a section. So we do hope actually this whole learning experience more interactive and also interesting. Well, in addition to the online learning, we are from time to time organizing the online learning sharing experiences like today, actually, to answer questions and also to do the interactions, including on logistics, on technical issues, and also on contents from time to time. So with that, let me pass it back to Jenny for ongoing this introduction.
Great. Thank you so much, Chungling. That was an excellent comprehensive overview of the CASI Academy and the various programs that already exists and that's being deployed throughout the Global South at the moment, which is very exciting. I just wanted to take just a couple more minutes here with the audience just to take a deeper dive into the GFA-CASI certificates in sustainable finance. And I think it's interesting that, you know, with the CASI Academy, it is kind of like leveraging AI, you know, for this development and deployment. And I think, you know, as Tim had mentioned earlier, corporates are using AI more frequently in sustainability to either aggregate data, generate reports and analysis, but the human skills, really the critical thinking, the judgment, the creativity is going to be the key differentiator, I think, for everyone here in terms of future-proofing your professional careers. Which is why we kind of like decided to create and develop a program with CASI that is hybrid and that enables this kind of like self-paced learning and also community building where you still have the human contact and connectivity. So the content for this certificate between us focuses on regional markets, case studies, key considerations for practitioners, and is really designed to move it from concept to application. The 6 core modules that we have selected from the CASI Online Academy include the GSF taxonomy, sustainable disclosures, green and sustainable finance products, transition finance, climate risk assessment and management, carbon markets. And then with this, we will have overlaid with this, HKGFA curated webinars and in-person networking to really provide this in-person access to industry experts, build professional networks and community. And after successfully passing the exam, as Chungling's mentioned, there are different modules, but for the certificate, we have a closed book assessment with a 75% pass mark. And after completing all the modules within 6 months, participants will receive a certificate of completion and be eligible for future HKGFA alumni events and also discounts to other kind of like sustainability initiatives. They could continue learning after the program finishes and staying up to date on kind of like what's going on in the market through kind of like the HKGFA websites and newsletters. And as sustainability is moving more into the mainstream and becoming more business as usual, I think these knowledge blocks that will be provided will become even more kind of like essential and not just a nice to have, but a must have. So please do feel free to reach out to the HKGFA Secretariat team or Chungling if you want to learn more about this. And with that, I'll pass the floor back to Chen. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny and Cheng-Lin, for the program overview and up-to-date updates. It's really interesting to know actually how capacity building is moving it just as quickly and adapting just as fast as green finance itself. So that's very exciting. In case you missed any of that, we've shared some of the useful links in the chat so that you can learn more about the HKGFA-CASI certificate course and how Hong Kong is actively supporting capacity building and sustainable finance. I've also noticed a few questions in the chat. Keep them coming. I think for the first 2, Timothy will probably answer them in due course or perhaps in the following section. And just very quickly to answer Cindy's question about whether the new online course will qualify for GUP. No, it would not. It's a completely different program, but thank you for your questions. Keep them coming. Now for the final section of our webinar, I'm delighted to introduce our industry leaders to join us for a sharing on Beyond the Noise, why sustainability and sustainable finance remain core to corporate strategy. I'd like to welcome back Mr. Timothy Smith, who will moderate the discussion, and Tim will be joined by our Professor Tim Wong, ESG and Sustainability Hub Lead for ACOM and Adjunct Professor at City University of Hong Kong, Mr. Mohit Grover, Partner, Climate and Sustainability Services for Deloitte, and last but not least, Ms. Kitty Zhang, Head of Sustainable Finance, Hang Seng Bank. Once again, if you do have any questions for our speakers, please remember to submit them in the Q&A box. Tim, you have the lead.
Thanks, Tien. So there's no doubt we're at a very interesting moment for sustainability. As mentioned earlier, there's a lot of noise out there with politics and shifting policies and questions around the actual pace of the transition. But if we look at the fundamentals, they haven't really changed. Capital is still moving, regulation is still evolving, and businesses need to decarbonise. So going back to that the business as usual comment, it's very relevant. What has changed is the level of integration. So sustainability is no longer sitting sort of on the side. It's embedded into supply chains. financial decision making, disclosures, and overall business strategy. And from a talent perspective, this is at Korn Ferry. This is where we spend all of our time. So new job creation, new skills, and new career pathways and industries are very important for us to know. So with that, today with our guests, I wanted to focus on three things: where the actual opportunities are, how roles and jobs are evolving, and what skills professionals need, no matter what the industry is, what they need to do to stay relevant. So let's start with a quick round. I'll do a quick rapid fire, asking our guests in one sentence to share how sustainability has evolved in their respective organisations. I'll start with you, Tim. One sentence. How would you describe it?
Thank you, Timothy. So one sentence, no doubt, in built environment, our contribution in the greenhouse gas emissions is 40% globally. So it's a big opportunity for us to help our clients to decarbonize.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, I think we'll leverage off that a little bit later with some questions. And Mohit, what about in the consulting arena?
Yeah, thanks, Timothy. And also congratulations to Hong Kong GFA and CASI for launching the program. Really excited to see that. So, what we see for our clients is really a change in mindset, from a compliance and defensive mindset around sustainability to value creation. So this is where what we are seeing, and Jenny used the word sustainability is becoming more and more mainstream. And that's what we observe with our clients, where it's business as usual. It's strongly integrated in the strategies and the operational considerations. And hence the need for skill sets is getting much more widened than what it used to be before.
Very interesting. And we'll come back to that, Mohit, because there's some really sort of hot points that you've touched on there. And Kitty, over to you. I mean, what are you finding in one sentence? What's your observations?
Sure. Yeah, and thanks for team setting the bar for really up one sentence. For us in Hang Seng, sustainability is really front and center. And for our bank, we embed it to our everyday businesses, ensuring our client to have a critical funding need they need to navigate and furthering their sustainability agenda, be compliant with the new climate disclosure requirement as mentioned earlier, and remain competitive under the supply chain requirement as well.
Awesome. Yeah, really interesting. So I guess now we can move a bit of this theory into reality. And I'll go back to you, Tim. From an infrastructure and built environment perspective, where are you seeing the real sustainability opportunities today, like particularly across supply chains, project delivery, and so on?
So thanks, Tim. That's a very interesting question, and it's actually $1 million question that I face every week from my clients or even to my boss. So what is the opportunity within our supply chain? So, well, further to my input for my first statement, 40% of the greenhouse gas emissions are coming from our built environment industry, including construction and transportation. So, in Hong Kong, in particularly in this area, our next 5 to 10 years of development will be focusing in Northern Metropolis. So actually there are a few things within what's happening within our built environment. First thing, you might have noticed the government has issued the Nature-Based Solutions Design Guideline on the 3rd of March. So that is also a very good synergy that government is keen in looking at how we contribute in sustainability, blending in human and nature in the built environment. And I think the merit of the NBS design guideline is to quantify 5 KPIs: soil, air, water, carbon sequestration, and the biodiversity, which I think perhaps I might be the only engineer in this call, but all of you guys are from the financial professionals. also love numbers, right? So I think that's the first thing on NBS guideline. Second thing, for the government and also from the private sector, they've been looking into carbon appraisal, carbon accounting from energy perspective, and most importantly, this year, there's a big impact about the scope 3, about the supply chain and embodied carbon. So perhaps CIC green product certifications, they've already turn around in the 2.0 version on blending in more products inside and also disclosing more carbon emission factors. And then the third point, well, coming to like sustainability, people always focus on environmental, which we think AECOM are very good at environmental perspective. But recently in the Northern Metropolis, we are now helping the government to look into quantifying the social value on different identified outcomes from infrastructure projects and also the activities that they're evolving within Northern Metropolis. So again, numbers. So quantifications of these, even with scientific backgrounds and activities that we're doing now, I think this is something that financier will be appreciated with our effort. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. Just to go back to one point, sorry to put you on the spot, but you spoke about social value. I mean, that is obviously a critical part of the sustainability skew. Can you give us a little bit of a deeper dive into an example of what that might mean?
Okay, well, at the moment, we're identifying different social outcomes. For example, job creations, job opportunities, and then the health and well-being. Are they happier? Are they healthier because of the development in Northern Metropolis? And construction innovations, what sort of the impact are they bringing? For example, time, cost, and carbon reductions. These are the things that we're trying to quantify for our clients.
Interesting. That's very, very good to know. And over to Mohit. When you're working with the corporates, navigating disclosures and transition planning and regulation, where are you seeing the biggest strategic opportunities for companies right now?
Yeah. So we see that in 4 key areas. First one being very much around commercializing the transition. Sort of green revenue growth. Yeah. So this has been the target and the aspiration for many organizations, but we are seeing this more and more coming to fruition. There's a lot of innovation, product innovation, and material innovation that's going on. In fact, Hong Kong is one of the hubs for green tech, with many startups and many investors focusing on this segment within Hong Kong. That also allows, with the right narrative, right rating, disclosures of sustainability, corporates are able to move into product innovation and potentially have a better association with consumers and have premium pricing. Yeah. Something that's also very relevant for small and medium enterprise and organizations that are part of a bigger value chain is market expansion. Sort of having a green passport. Yeah. So meeting the regulatory requirements that are getting more and more applicable in markets like Europe. And many companies want to diversify just from US into global markets. Yeah. The second area is operational resilience and cost optimization. And one can't say any more about it given the disruptions we are seeing from Middle East, which is geopolitical, but something climate change can also cause. 40% of Asia Pacific imports of energy is coming from Middle East. And this is not simply a price shock. It is a structural change in terms of energy security, lasting implications in terms of the industrial competitiveness and the investor confidence in the region. So putting more and more emphasis on organizations driving resource efficiency, energy security, and very importantly, supply chain de-risking. The third area is really, again, Hong Kong being a hub for that, is access to low cost and innovative capital. So it's not only about lowering the cost of borrowing, but through the right sustainability initiatives, you could also access a wider pool of investor base. Yeah, that we're seeing again becoming more and more relevant. Yeah. And lastly is really around brand equity and talent attraction. Yeah. So we've always seen sustainability being a proxy towards high corporate governance, ethics, and purpose in the organization. And those are the organizations where talent wants to work with. Yeah. So it absolutely remains a magnet for talent attraction and retention and performance, and likewise for customers as well. Yeah. So I think these are the tangible areas where we are seeing value creation through the steps and initiatives organizations have taken on sustainability.
The point there around energy security, are we seeing that from more of a top-down angle or a drive from the bottom up?
I think it's very much top-down, given the shock that the globe we are going through globally. Yeah. But the efforts are not new. Many companies had energy transition on their roadmap. They've been moving towards renewable energy. They've been moving towards energy efficiencies. Banks have been supporting and promoting the organizations to get on this bandwagon. So I think while there was a very clear and considerate push for organizations to accelerate, there were thankfully capabilities built. And this is again back to some of the regulatory shifts we have seen in the Hong Kong market over the last 3 years. Even though it was a difficult economic period, I think there's been steady progress of regulations, giving the organizations the incentive and also the necessity to start building their transition plan. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting, very challenging and complex time, that's for sure. And I guess that's a good segue across to Kitty from more of a banking and finance perspective. Kitty, how is sustainable finance continuing to evolve as a core business driver? Like, where are you seeing the strongest opportunities in products, client demand, and transition financing?
Yeah, thank you, team. This is a very crucial question for us because at Hang Seng, talking about sustainability, just now we talk about like sustainability become more functional. We also view it no longer as a compliance checklist or a niche product for bank. It has evolved into like a core business driver, and quite frankly, it is our most powerful relationship tool as well. So when we discuss about transition roadmap with our clients, we aren't just talking about loans. We are actually unlocking a deeper, forward-looking understanding of their future corporate strategy as well. It allows us to pivot from being a transactional lender to become a true long-term strategic partner with the corporate. So together, today, it is the strongest opportunity. I actually concentrated into like 3 areas here. First is like helping clients win projects. Second is enabling the SMEs, and also turning disclosures, what Mohit has mentioned about, into clear financial value. So for like helping clients win project, because sustainability is no longer embedded like in the final stage. It's embedded right at the tendering stage for like construction project. If an enterprise wants to secure a major development contract in, let's say, the Northern Metropolis or the Suntein Technopole today, what like team has also mentioned, they need an environmental blueprint that is robust, and we are the strategic partners for them in the early cycle. So we move beyond to just having the checklist if they have the BEAM Plus certificate or not. We moved towards like helping our corporate clients to navigate among like the government newly launched the Hong Kong-based nature-based solution design guide that maybe team has mentioned about earlier, because our sustainability power up team has brought the top tier ecosystem expertise as well, like AECOM yourself, to actually help the corporate to navigate around the upcoming guidelines of the Hong Kong government. So through these partnerships, we help clients integrate advanced infrastructure planning and ecological design straight in their early project bids, ensuring that the sustainability is interlocked also with like the government's agenda on the BSAP 2035 as well. So we want to wrap this into like structuring green facilities so that it also lower the cost of capital when their environmental targets are hit, helping them become more competitive in the market. And the second pillar is helping like our SMEs transit in Hong Kong, because if we are to achieve like the Hong Kong Climate Action Plan by 2050, we cannot leave out the SMEs alone because it's composed of over 90% of our Hong Kong corporate, and they are also facing immense pressure from their corporate buyers, like what Mohit has just mentioned, in order to clean up their supply chain. So in order to build this gap, Hang Seng has scaled up our Sustainability Power Fund by 50% last year to 120 billion Hong Kong dollar. This fund hopes to be accessible and practical for our corporate customers to actually navigate against this changes and have the liquidity they need to upgrade their operation. And finally, about disclosure, actually clients don't want to be lectured on regulations, the upcoming regulations. They want to know that how like the data can help them on the cash flow. So our role is to turn really the disclosure into a monetizing tool for them. To clear the data hurdle without like adding operational friction, our team has actually also powered up with like team up with Deloitte. So we know that what advisory they can have to build on the audit ready baseline. And more importantly is how we can utilize these data into a finance ready solution. So by also like understanding what is material to them and achieving the target we together build to them, we actually can lower their cost of capital, and as well can also tap into the Hong Kong government's Green and Sustainable Finance Grant Scheme, which can now subsidize up to like 75% of the upfront advisory costs, whilst that can simultaneously unlock like transition finance or sustainable link finance to them. So we aim to really help clients grow together so that we as bank can achieve like a true and long-term sustainable growth.
Well, congratulations on the growth of the fund. Firstly, that's incredible. I just want to tie this back to something that Mohit spoke about. One of the key drivers for his clients was around brand and identity, and then we have the other skew, which is more around necessity, right? The push and the pull factors. With your clients, Kitty, are you seeing a drive more from a willingness to do it because they want to do it, or more that they're being guided by policy?
Yeah, I think clients comes in like different, they have like large spectrum as well. So some of them are really on a regulatory driven portion. So they are really driven by like the listed company regulations disclosed. And so we like partner with Deloitte to let them know what is the latest like regulatory framework they need to comply with. And with that regulatory framework, are there any sustainable finance tools that we could help them to navigate against like this long-term sustainability strategy? But then there is also another pillar of clients that is really like up and above. So they really want to know how I can use sustainability to really advance their business journey. So the example is that we partner with AECOM to like understand how they like the social impact that has been talking about, or the nature-based solution design guide that has been talking about, how we can utilize this to better win project for them so that they can actually build more businesses in the newly development area.
Thanks for that, Kitty. I mean, there's a lot of change there and a lot of fast evolution. So thanks for your contribution and continuity of building funds around this topic. So I guess we need to segue into how this is relevant to talent and capacity and skill sets. And I'll go back to you, Tim. What are the new jobs and skills emerging for the next generation of engineers and planners and project managers in your field?
Thanks, Tim. That's a really good question because that's also one of the KPI in my role because I need to drive sustainability and ESG services across different business lines, which means under AECOM, we have a huge variety of professionals within AECOM, including engineers, architects, landscape designer, economists, ecologists, geologists, whatever you have it, you name it, we have it. So my role is to build their capacity and upskill from transitioning from their first domain and to talk in the sustainability language. So since I've joined AECOM, I've seen a lot of positive numbers from my colleagues within the planning team or the engineering team, trying to get the chartership or certifications from CESCA, CEP, Certified Carbon Auditor, even some digital certifications like SMART and WIRE. So it has been tripling up of these upskilling, transitioning from their first domain into the ESG role. So which means that in AECOM, we're actually having more people to do ESG work in different business lines, no matter you're from the transportation or the building sectors. So we hope that we can deliver in the same manner and language.
Very interesting. Tim, back to your point around language. You've moved from more of a traditional engineering discipline into sustainability. Can you give us a little bit more information about the shift of language and the adaptability cross-functional within your business?
Yes, indeed. Like in my earlier old days, my first domain is a civil engineer, and I've already contributed a few signature transportation projects in Hong Kong. Like for example, Admiralty. Probably all of you have already been there, like almost every day. The new integrated station for Admiralty, and also like Homentin. So back then, like my language, what we have to do every day is utilizing or optimizing the design. So it's a way of looking into a sustainability perspective is to retain the resources on Earth, and then you can blend into the sustainable development for your future. But then like switching into an ESG perspective when talking about this, utilizing the design is basically reducing embodied carbon. And from the building services perspective, it could be reducing the energy consumptions. So I think this is something that day to day our colleagues are doing in their prime job. But then it's just that we need to translate those into the sustainable, buzzword into actions.
Interesting, and congratulations, Tim, on those landmark projects. They
Thank
are
you.
definitely innovative and front and center with the built environment at the moment. I'll pass it over to Mohit. Your space is evolving. If you look at regulations with the ISSB, the TNFD, transition finance, what talent gaps are you seeing in organisations at the moment?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely the need for technical skills remains very high and growing. Yeah. And the first one I'll like to call out is sort of a translator. Yeah. Someone who has the skill sets to understand complex climate science, ecological matrix, what Prof. Ting was also referring to, and to translate that into financial metrics, financial data that could be understood by the CFOs of the organization, the C-suite and the board members. Yeah, I think that remains quite a critical skills more than ever, yeah, in terms of a skill set that is required by the organization. Clearly, alongside with climate science, we're also seeing the growth of the risk and the importance of nature and biodiversity. Yeah, so that is also an emerging area where there are, organizational need for skills. A lot of sustainability and climate change is about forward-looking scenario planning. Yeah, and including resilience planning, supply chain de-risking. So that's again an ability to build those financial models to predict, use the right set of data, and to kind of map it back into the organization construct and strategies. I think that is clearly an important part as well. Lastly, Kitty highlighted the value of data, sustainability data. What's more important here is really the data is audit ready. Yeah, it has the necessary controls. Yeah, as more and more disclosures and more data is being used for disclosures. Yeah. So, I mean, these are skill sets that have been quite foundational. Yeah, and absolutely remain the need of the organization. And these skill sets now are required not only in your sustainability function, but some of them in finance, some of them in your supply chain and your product innovation areas as well. So I think that is one. Now, I won't call out AI because AI again is not a unique skill set for sustainability. AI is required everywhere. So a lot of these, in terms of modeling, in terms of data, in terms of processes, is now AI enabled, or more and more being enabled, and that's clearly a skill set that every role requires these days.
Very, very interesting. I'm tempted to open up a can of worms with the AI piece there, but I won't. I'll stay away from that. But Kitty, as finance becomes the backbone of the transition journey, what capabilities do professionals in the banks and the corporates need to effectively access and deploy their finance?
Yeah, thank you. This question actually hit close to home for me because my own professional also roots from like traditional client coverage for over 10 years as well. So when we are discussing about like capabilities professional needs today, especially on the sustainable finance area, I don't see like sustainable finance as a complete reinvention of a banker's role, but relationship management, deep operational understanding of clients, and credit discipline actually remains our core fundamentals. What we need today is really to build a highly precise technical layer on top of that baseline. So speaking of Hang Seng, we echo to the point that finance has become the backbone of the real world transition. So to drive this journey effectively, well, I believe that like there is 3 distinct practical capabilities that frontline client engagement would make it more like impactful. First, we need like the technical capabilities to look at clients' operational pain point and translate them into sharp commercial edge. So clients won't look into the frameworks or taxonomy like the Hong Kong MA Sustainable Finance Taxonomy Phase 2A for the sake of compliance or support for the government. They care about like their business continuity, how to cut operational cost, and lowering their energy bills. So the real frontline capability is actually to understand the client's specific day-to-day operation, whether they're upgrading their logistic fleet or like retrofitting a commercial property, and then wrapping those upgrades directly into a structured green or sustainability-linked facility that can lower the actual cost of debt when the environmental targets are hit. That is how we turn like technical data from Team or from Mohit into a value-added financing for a business. And then the second is that we need to breach the execution gap through structured upskilling. The market and regulatory demographic is moving very fast, and our client as well as our coverage teams actually needed the deep structural cross-disciplinary skills to navigate among it. Name it ecologists and like engineers. All of them, they need to distill it and then they need to navigate it. personally complete the destinations like what Tim also mentioned, ZESGA and CEP. Gave me the fundamentals I needed to transition on my career. But to scale this across the industry, like with carbon market and also transition loan, collaboration initiative like the HKGFA-CASI certificate in sustainable finance program can let us leverage on the self-paced like CASI Academy modules and can help us grasp the idea of interest very quickly and also with deep domain knowledge. So our client coverage team can actually stop asking the question of how we do it and then start entirely on closing impactful deals. Finally, my personal belief is that professionals must develop the capabilities of continuous collaborative dialogue with the key stakeholders. So we believe that no single institutions have all of the answers. We have the answers currently, don't mean that we have the answers like 10 years after. So true expertise require us to stay deeply embedded in the market and maintain an active and constant dialogue with the government, regulatory body, and industry's peers. So at Hang Seng, we actively build bridges across the entire ecosystem, connecting our client directly with cross-sector research, policy insight, and specialized market stakeholders. This interconnected capabilities is what allow us to move away from like the noises or the rhetorical risk assessment to deliver actual and forward-looking transition strategy.
Very well said and articulate. So thanks, Kitty. That makes a lot of sense. So I'm just conscious of time, but I just want to summarize a few consistent topics which have been brought up cross-sector. Starting with Tim, language consistency, now that it is being embedded in different roles and different business units, language consistency is really, really important. And I think that there's talk about capacity building and growth in skill sets. I think there's a lot of room to move there. The other one was the push and the pull factors, versus regulation versus intention versus brand and identity. That's still up in the air, and I think is diverse depending on the organisation. Value creation is hugely important for sustainability professionals. Adaptability. It's good to hear that the government is still driving these projects and investments. And on top of that, the final piece is that the private sector, looking at the SMEs, which has been brought up, there's still an appetite to invest. So that all translates into a necessity for evolution of skill sets, diversification, and a capacity building understanding of what businesses need to do. With that being said, I'll pass this back to the audience and to the moderators. I'm sure that we've got plenty of questions out there, so this is the time for the participants to jot down any questions that you might have for the panelists.
Hi there, thanks. I see a couple of questions that have come up. I know we're quite short on time, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask Tim, maybe if you can answer the first question. And it goes, based on recent job openings, are you observing some trends about whether sustainability or green roles are transitioning towards green skills in other roles, purchasing or finance? Tim or any others have a response to that? That would be great.
Which Tim?
You.
Yeah. Okay. Definitely. I think that's the top. I think that's the key sort of foundation of the topic that we're speaking about today. You don't need to be a sustainability expert anymore to need to upskill within sustainability. This is embedded into every single business function now. That old argument that there was the struggle of structural arrangements of organisations, that's been mitigated by upskilling the entire workforce rather than having a dedicated business unit for sustainability. So to answer the question, the trend is everybody upskills. Doesn't matter your function.
Great, thanks. I will quickly answer the last question we got, which is from Jia Yi Hui. And I'll probably, on behalf of all the speakers here today, the question is opportunities to collaborate with industry professionals on student outreach, mentorship, or campus engagement. Now, I may be overstepping to say that each of these organizations who are represented on the panel today, I heard from Kitty saying that she's been working at ACOM and working at Deloitte as well. So I believe that all of them are willing to able to support. What I would suggest is that you reach out to us at the Secretariat, and we'd be more than happy to share with you some contacts or reach out to the speakers here today and any other members. I know for sure that in the sustainability field that people are very open to collaboration. So please reach out to us. On Rakesh's second question, I think we'll get Timothy Smith to respond to that offline. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to share them. We'll do our best to answer them later. So with that, I just want to say a massive thank you to Timothy, Kitty, Tim, and Mohit for that excellent and really insightful discussion. Whether you are hiring or even looking for a new role, I think the panel, you gave us really a lot of food for thought. I really like those one-sentence responses because each of you were actually able to underline that in spite of the ever-growing challenges and shift in priorities, whether it's geopolitical or AI, the underlying commitments to decarbonization remain. The fundamentals have not changed, and this will continue to drive the market towards drive the market development for sustainable finance. But we need to be ready. As Tim Smith mentioned earlier, not only is the demand for green talent greater than the supply, but that demand is increasing fast. With sustainability becoming more functional and embedded into all the roles, as you heard from all the speakers, the need to upskill and to build capacity in order to serve the needs of the business, finance, supply chains, and SMEs remains and will be essential for future career readiness. So on that note, I'd like to conclude this webinar. Please remember that if you need to claim CPT points, then you can complete the survey by scanning the QR code, or you can visit the link in the chat. And if you'd like more information about the HKGFA-CASI Certificate in Sustainable Finance Program, you can also find them on the screen and in the chat. So finally, on behalf of HKGFA, I'd like to once again thank all our speakers, as well as our co-organizers, CASI and the HKAB, for their support to advancing Hong Kong's journey in sustainable finance. And thank you all for joining us today. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.